Do you want to talk about house parties and barbecues?
Sure. Okay. You talk about them.
That's a good title. House parties and barbecues. It's summertime. So, everyone's out and about, going to concerts, going to cookouts, going to people's houses. But there are, potential threats.
Potential threats.
Severe injury with severe hangovers.
Those are self-induced. We're not filing hangover lawsuits yet.
So let's talk about this from like a personal injury perspective. You invite people over to your house for a cookout, for a good time. What are the possible liabilities? I mean, structurally and maybe involving alcohol, and they get hurt, like who's responsible? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so the things that come to mind immediately are dangerous conditions. So things like missing hand railing, broken step, all those things. You invite people to your house, whether it's for a cookout or any other thing.
Slippery, cement, if you have a pool or something.
Yeah, especially broken, stuff that's broken. Plaintiffs' lawyers love broken stuff. And then the person gets hurt, and we say it's because it's broken. Dangerous conditions are probably the number one way that you got a problem. And then alcohol is always a problem. You can't overserve somebody and then send them out to hurt someone. Those are.
So if you overserve someone at your house and then they end up getting hurt, who's responsible? I mean, let's say there's no damage at the house, that they tripped over something, but let's just say they fell down the stairs. The stairs are fine, but they fell down the stairs and they hurt themselves. Is that something that they could sue for?
No, so in any negligence case, this is a negligence case, somebody had to have done something wrong.
Okay.
And you have an injury. So in law school they teach it a little different, but if you invite someone to your house, you owe them they call it a duty, an obligation to have a reasonably safe place.
Okay.
So if your friend can't walk and they faceplant and knock their teeth out, that's not your fault. If you have a broken step and they trip on the broken step and knock their teeth out, that's your fault. Is it reasonably foreseeable, they say.
But what if you serve them a lot of alcohol and that happens? Does that change anything?
If you...
Maybe.
I think it's a little different fact pattern if they voluntarily consume a whole bunch of alcohol and then tip over and knock out their own teeth. They're pretty responsible as well. Do they theoretically have a claim against you for allowing it? Maybe. Is any jury going to say, well, but I think who has a pretty good claim against the homeowner is the person who's walking down the street and that drunk person gets in their car and drives out of the driveway and gets hit. Now, they're going to say, okay, well, the driver had a minimum $25,000 insurance policy. I have life-altering injuries. I want your $25,000 for the...
You let insurance. Them leave.
Right.
Yeah.
And your homeowner's policy. You let them leave. You knew they were here. You knew they were leaving. You knew they couldn't drink 20 beers, and you bought the beers, you handed them the beers,
right.
You watched them drink it, you watched them pull out of the driveway.
Yeah. So what is your legal advice on people having, parties?
Don't drink and drive. Get an Uber. You'll get in trouble. You'll get arrested. You'll hurt somebody. I mean, it's stupid. We're all smart enough not to do it now. Right.
And from a homeowner's perspective.
Don't let people drink and drive.
And make sure all your shit is together, not broken.
Pay your insurance premiums.
Yeah. We can also talk a little bit about concert venues as well.
Yeah, concert venues. So we haven't had, we had the crazy trampling here in Rochester.
Yeah, at the Armory.
Right. So concert venues, people are crazy at concerts. All the concert venues know that. You got to have security. You got to have appropriate signage. You need to have a plan. You need to have a safe space. But the crazy one I saw, I think it was on TikTok yesterday, is the concert venues in the rain, where they get to be all mud, and the people are on a hill in the mud, and they're falling down, and one person's falling into the other person, and everybody's acting drunk and crazy like they do at concerts, and people are getting really hurt.
So as a concert venue, what are you supposed to do? Cancel it and lose out on a lot of money?
Yeah,
or
or don't have so much of a pitch on your hill, or have the appropriate amount of grass and vegetation, or when there's a monsoon, get them out of there.
Yeah. Well, because the one back in, when was that? Like March, February, the one at the Armory? What was the issue with that? There was too many people in one space?
Too many people, not enough lights, not enough doors. In some ways, the proof's in the outcome, right? So there's a trampling. This is...
Right. Like when you hold a venue, you are responsible for people's safety.
Yeah, has to be.
Regardless of who's acting like what, right? So it's ultimately still your responsibility at the end of the day to create a safe space. Safe space,
correct. And if it's, can people get hurt in safe spaces? Absolutely. But
what about crowd surfing? Like if you unless you are physically pulled up there, which I doubt, I mean, maybe it happens, but usually it's willing, and you get hurt or they drop you, they don't even try, who's responsible? Like, so if you fall on me and I don't want to catch you, why do I have to catch you?
That's a good one. And I think that's a great example of a legal term we call assumption of the risk. So you're going to crowd surf, you know what can happen, you can get dropped. You get dropped and break your arm, well, you assume that risk. Now, where assumption of the risk doesn't apply, if you're crowd surfing and someone shoots you, I'm just trying to be dramatic, but you don't assume the risk. You don't assume the risk of being shot at by crowd surfing. You assume the risk of being dropped.
Okay. Yeah. Or what if you get like trampled after the fact? Like that's probably.
Yeah. So then there's always a question of where the line is. But that's the theory.
Yeah. So. All right. So concert venues. That is basically, it sounds very similar to basically if you had a party at your house. Like same rules apply.
Well, we're always talking about negligence. Are people doing things that is unreasonably creating the risk of injury of another person? And the things you do at your house might be different than at a commercial venue. A concert venue knows they're bringing in tens of thousands of people at a high intensity level. They have to be able to get the lights on. They have to be able to get the people in and out of there. There's a whole bunch of cases that are about security at the concerts where are they making sure everybody's safe? And they have some, the law is different around the United States, but you have some obligation to make the people at a concert safe. Does that mean that you're responsible for every person who walks up to another person and punches them in the face? I don't think so.
Right. But I feel like depending on what type of concert, you're assuming the risk that happens. That concludes this episode of the King Law Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and check out our socials at King Law Attorneys. And if you've happened to have been injured or charged with a crime, now you know who to call. King Law. Take charge.